Good Monday morning, everybody. My name is Muna Jundi, and I am the chair of the Michigan Women's Commission, and I'd like to welcome you all to the virtual kickoff of our Women's Economic Recovery. As folks continue to join us today on Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube, I'd like to share some quick background information on our commission. The Michigan Women's Commission was established by statute in 1968. We have 15 members appointed by the governor to serve 3-year terms. Our duties include surveying the women of Michigan, identifying challenges they face, and recommending policies to address these challenges. Because so much of our work centers on women's economic security issues, Governor Gretchen Whitmer moved the commission into the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity in 2020. Prior to this, we were located at the Civil Rights Commission. So that's where our commission's CEO, Cheryl Bergman, keeps us on track toward helping all the women thrive in Michigan's economy. I'm going to ask Cheryl to step in now to share a bit more about the current status of Michigan's women as we transition out of this pandemic. Cheryl?
Thank you, Chairman Jundi. Good morning, and thank you for joining us for the kickoff of the Michigan Women's Commission's Women's Economic Recovery Tour, or WORT, we call it for short. We're so glad to be able to loop back to continue the conversation that we started 2 years ago. In late 2019 and early 2020, the Michigan Women's Commission, along with Governor Whitmer, traveled the state asking women what they need to achieve gender equity. And wherever we went, from Flint to Traverse City and Detroit to Grand Rapids, you told us that you need economic security, affordable, accessible childcare, pay equity, paid leave, and more women in leadership across the board in every sector. And this was before the pandemic hit. And I can't think of anything good about the pandemic at all, but it did put a spotlight on the very issues that you pointed out during our conversations. And now our business leaders and policymakers are talking about childcare, for one thing, as an economic issue and not just a family decision. As Chairwoman Jundi mentioned, these conversations prompted Governor Whitmer to move the Women's Commission to the Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity, or LEO. And we're fortunate to work with the team at LEO and Director Susan Corbin, who are all laser focused on increasing economic opportunity for everyone in Michigan. And the Women's Commission makes sure that we look at everything through the lens of women and the unique challenges that we face. These conversations also informed the creation of the Women's Commission's current initiatives and working committees. In 2020, the Commission formed the Financial Freedom Committee, chaired by Commissioner Faye Nelson, that is focused on actions to close gaps and increase access to income, including pay equity and access to education and training for higher paying jobs. And the Invisible Authentic Leadership Committee, chaired by Commissioner Dr. Geneva Williams, is exploring policy that will increase the numbers of women serving in publicly visible leadership roles across all sectors. The Unlocking Opportunities Committee, chaired by Commissioner Kelly Saunders, is pursuing initiatives to eliminate barriers to work, including increasing the availability of affordable, accessible childcare and expanding paid leave. We formed these committees before we understood the impact that the pandemic would have on women in the workforce, and the work these committees are tackling is even more pressing now. According to the Department of Technology Management and Budget Women in the Workforce data, as of December 2020, 136,000 women left the workforce entirely in Michigan. In December of 2021, that number grew to 187,600 women who have left the workforce entirely in the state of Michigan. Data points to lack of affordable, accessible childcare exacerbated by the pandemic as one major cause of women deciding to leave the workforce. We know it's these same economic security issues that impacted women's decisions about whether to remain in or return to the workforce. Things like accessing affordable childcare, whether it's worth returning for too low wages, whether our current or previous employment offered the flexibility we need both to earn a paycheck and to do all the things asked of us to keep our families and communities going strong. And last week marked another Equal Pay Day. We won't mark Latina Equal Pay Day until December of this year. Latina women were paid on average 49 cents to each dollar white non-Hispanic men made in 2021. Native American women 50 cents, and Black women were typically paid 58 cents. Women overall made 83 cents on the dollar. According to a recent Forbes report, if we look only at the median wage gap for full-time working women who start working at age 20, the gap translates to a woman having to work until she is 72 to be paid what a man was paid by age 60. We need a cultural change. We need to value caregiving and back it up with policy and law. Over just the last 60 years, women have created huge cultural change backed up by law and policy. Together, we can make this shift as well. Thankfully, we have each and every one of you on this Zoom today who are working every day to uplift the women around you, shift the culture, and change the dialogue in incredibly creative and effective ways. Thank you. And Michigan has a governor who has our backs, who is also a mom and a working woman, who understands all the responsibilities women typically carry each day, pandemic or no pandemic. And we are grateful for her leadership that guided us through several once in a generation crisis while staying laser focused on growing Michigan's economy. And that's why we're here today, to launch our statewide Women's Economic Recovery Tour. Starting with today's virtual kickoff, the Michigan Women's Commission will travel throughout the state this year to make sure Michigan's women are connected to programs and resources offered by the state that can help further our economic security, and to continue the conversation on what policies are needed to make the shift to valuing what we bring to the table. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Chairwoman Jundy and see if she has anything else to share with us.
Thank you, Cheryl. You know, I was reading an article a couple of days ago, actually, it's in the Washington Post, and the title is "Women Are in the Worst Case Situation That We've Ever Been." And you obviously shared with us the numbers about the 186,000 women in Michigan that are out of the workforce, and that number is 11 million nationwide. And you know, obviously one of the big issues, and always the big issues, is childcare. So maybe you could talk to us a little bit, because it's, to me, really exciting, is the Michigan Tri-Share childcare program.
Sure. Yep, that's one. The My Tri-Share childcare pilot program is one innovative public-private partnership that has bipartisan support in the state. We, the Women's Commission, are administering this pilot program. We launched it in 2021 and have just expanded the pilot in February of this year. And the idea is that an employer pays a third of childcare costs, the employee pays a third of childcare costs, and the state of Michigan pays a third of the childcare cost. We've seen some real success with this pilot already so far. We just heard that a company in Traverse City was able to hire 11 employees by offering the Tri-Share benefit. So it's helping employers, doing what it's supposed to do, what we hope it'll do, helping employers retain and attract talent. We also heard from a family, a couple who was able to afford their first down payment on a home because of the savings they afforded themselves by participating in Tri-Share. And I see the governor has joined, so.
Good morning.
I'll talk more about Tri-Share later. Morning, Governor.
Good morning. I'm gonna try to edit my name because I'm not Nathan Reynolds, but I'm a little challenged here and trying to figure this out. I hate to admit it. Good to see you guys.
Someone changed it.
Oh, someone did. All right, that's the best way. Okay. Hi, Muna.
Hi, Governor. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming to Flint and speaking to some of the medical community last week. We really appreciated that.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm sorry I didn't even see you.
That's okay. There was a lot of people there, so appreciated it. Thank you, Cheryl. I'm honored to get this opportunity to introduce our governor, Gretchen Whitmer. I don't think you need an introduction, but Governor, I did want to echo Cheryl's gratitude for your leadership. You know, the way that women have been disproportionately impacted during this pandemic, and honestly, you've really stepped up and made women's economic recovery a priority. So, you know, we really appreciate that.
Well, thanks, Muna. Even on the hardest days, and there've been some hard days in the last few years. I'm very grateful to be in this position, and I know the work that we're doing is meaningful and makes a difference. And women are promoting, encouraging, supporting women is at the center of so much of the work that we're doing.
Well, Cheryl shared with us, you know, the sobering statistics about Michigan women in the workforce. And we know that childcare has always been a driving force behind decisions for a lot of working parents. And of course, the pandemic exacerbated that situation. You know, the good news is that we now see employers and business communities, as well as policymakers, talking about childcare as an economic issue, which is a great shift and not just a family decision. You know, Governor, you were quick to factor in working families during the pandemic and to do what you could to increase access to quality, affordable childcare. Could you talk to us a little bit about what you've done?
Sure. And I so appreciate, the importance of this issue. We worked across the aisle with partners in the legislature, and I was able to sign a record $1.4 billion investment in childcare. And this funding, has helped keep our local childcare providers open, expanding access to childcare statewide, and it's helped us invest in programs in communities without enough childcare. So we've expanded access to low or no cost childcare for 112,000 more working families that earn less than $49,025 a year for a family of four. We've also expanded access to free preschool for 22,000 more four-year-olds through our high quality homegrown Great Start Readiness program. This has helped thousands of working parents ensure that their kids are learning in safe environments. And one of the most innovative new programs that's being piloted by the Michigan Women's Commission, which I know Cheryl was talking about, is the TriShare Child Care Pilot Program. It's the first of its kind in the country. It's an equal split of the cost of childcare between a participating employer, eligible employee, and the state of Michigan. So the three split the cost, and it's effectively lowered the cost of a family's childcare by 2/3. So thanks to continuing bipartisan support in the state legislature, along with active interest from employers of all sizes, we've recently expanded the pilot to 59 counties and the city of Detroit. And it's my hope that we'll continue to grow this program in all 83 counties and make sure that this opportunity is available to more of the Michigan workforce of families.
You know, Gov, as chair of the commission, honestly, it's been incredible to watch the Michigan TriShare Childcare Pilot take root. You know, you started thankfully with the pilot, and the advantage now we have is that there are some foundations like the Kellogg Foundation and the Bomber Fund who are helping us expand. So it's great. You know, the more buy-in that we get, the more families that are, going to be helped with this. And along with helping parents to, remain in or return to the workforce, you've also introduced some innovative ideas for helping Michiganders get on a path to higher paying jobs. So could you tell us about the futures for frontliners, Michigan Reconnect, and other new or expanded programs in your 60 by 30 goal?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm really proud of the results that we're seeing. When I took office, I set the 60 by 30 goal, and that's getting to 60% of our Michiganders with a post-secondary degree or technical certificate by 2030. And I just see this as a real opportunity for women, especially to get on tuition-free paths to higher ed or skills training so that they can advance their earning potential through in-demand, good-paying jobs. So the Futures for Frontliners was something we designed after the GI Bill during World War II. It's to cover tuition for post-secondary education or skills training for the people that served on the front lines of the pandemic. Nearly 85,000 people have been accepted. We also launched the Michigan Reconnect, which is a program that pays for the tuition for a certificate or degree for Michiganders who are 25 and older. So far we've had over 90,000 Michiganders be accepted for this particular opportunity. So tens of thousands of people are already taking advantage of these two programs. I've worked with the legislature to fund wraparound services for participants in the programs because we want to remove some of the real common barriers to success. And working with learning institutions, these reconnectors are able to get childcare, transportation support, internet access, and more. So in addition to these two programs, we've been able to expand opportunities for work-based learning like registered apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships, career and tech education programs where you can earn a paycheck while you're getting the skills for the job. So if anyone out there is interested in any of these opportunities, I want to strongly encourage you to visit michigan.gov/LEO, L-E-O, for labor and economic opportunity so that you can learn more and spread the word. Or you can reach out to your local Michigan Works agency. But I think these are great opportunities for women who want to get back to the workforce, but back into more lucrative opportunities.
You know, what I really appreciate about this program, Governor, is that, you know, tuition free, and I feel like this is like the part where your mom and you sort of you understand this, is that tuition free alone isn't totally, it's not enough. And so
Yep.
for you to get the wraparound services, you know, if, you know, mom might need childcare or some help in transportation. And so that's, you know, it's fantastic to see that, because it really does open the opportunity to so many more women when you can remove those obstacles. And this leads to another big area of concern that came up during our gender equity conversations. And obviously they were illuminated by the pandemic as well, you know, issues related to economic equity, things like equal pay and paid leave, even things like the tampon tax. You used your executive pen to make some changes on these fronts. Could you talk about some of the ways you've made progress on that?
Well, certainly. I think first I want to acknowledge that the work that the Women's Commission did, traveling the state and listening and engaging women of all walks from all parts of our state, was so important, because the work that you do informs the work that I do. And one of the first things I did when taking office was sign an executive directive requiring equal pay for equal work in state government. Obviously, I can unilaterally improve the quality of life for female employees of the state, but we want to expand this so that every woman in the state has the same kind of opportunities and protections. State policies and procedures should require compensation based on the nature of the work performed and not be differentiated due to gender. And we know things like asking applicants about their salary histories can inappropriately perpetuate the gender wage gap by enabling prospective employers to offer lower salaries to women. And so I signed the executive directive prohibiting state departments or agencies from asking about current or previous salaries until they first make a conditional offer of employment. I've also signed another executive directive strengthening protections against discrimination in state employment, including gender identity, gender expression, and sexual orientation. I, again, can do this on behalf of state employees, but these are protections we want to expand to everyone in the state, in the private sector as well. And we also enacted up to 12 weeks of paid parental leave for state employees. And in just over a year, nearly 2,000 state employees have taken advantage of this benefit, fostering lifelong connections with their infants. So while I can deliver these protections for the state workforce, it's crucial that we expand them to the whole workforce in the state. The state of Michigan can and should lead by example, and we are. But I am eager to work with you to make sure that these opportunities and protections are available to every person in Michigan. I applied that same focus across state government by appointing executive office's first ever equity and inclusion officer, who's developing diversity and inclusion strategies, not only within my office, but collaborating across state government to promote a more equitable and inclusive workforce. And as you mentioned, Muna, the tampon tax, I was excited when the legislature sent me a package of bills to sign that repealed this tax on essential menstrual products, including tampons, which can help drive down costs for women. To spread the news on all of our efforts, we've been working with the commission to connect more women with all the resources that we've discussed today. Funding from the federal government under Fostering Access, Rights, and Equity, or a FAIR grant. The Women's Commission is launching a webinar series and awarding grants to community-based organizations that help women across our state access these resources, and also to better understand and exercise their workplace rights and benefits. So we're doing what we can to keep our economy growing and getting stronger, but making sure that there's equitable opportunities to thrive in our workforce. And I encourage you to keep informing the Women's Commission, and so that you can continue to help drive the agenda that we're working on in my office and as a state government.
You know, Governor, I actually don't think that many women understand that one of the obstacles to women's promotion and salary equity is the asking of what is your current salary, right? So when you say that the state has basically abolished that, and you're no longer, state employees are no longer allowed to be asked if they're applying for positions, what they currently make, people are like, oh, that's not a big deal. But it actually is a very big deal, because so many women are underpaid, and then they continue to get underpaid if they have to disclose what their salary is, and then they'll get the same or a little bit more. And so that gap continues. So your leadership and the state leadership, that you're leading by example, honestly, is really important. So thank you for that. Obviously, Gov, we could talk to you all day, but we do know that you have a busy schedule. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for protecting Michiganders. I know I say it all the time, but for your swift response to the pandemic, despite even a threat on you and your family's safety, you didn't skip a beat. Really appreciate that. And of course, for all of your innovative supports for our economic recovery and advancement. Thank you.
Thanks, Mona. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Okay, so Cheryl, we're coming back to you. Can you share where the Women's Commission is going with all of this?
Sure. So I started to talk a bit about the Tri-Share pilot, and the governor mentioned that as well. So that is the program that we have expanded. Just to give you a little bit of background on how the pilot came about, the pilot was created, the idea for the pilot was created by the Grand Rapids Chamber of Commerce and a coalition of community and employer groups, along with Representative Van Workum, who was a champion for the pilot in the legislature. And like the governor said, as far as we know, it is the only pilot of its kind in the country. Like I said, we launched the pilot in 2022 with 3 pilot regions. And just last month, we expanded the pilot to include 59 counties and the city of Detroit. We have support from the W.K. Kellogg Foundation and the Balmer Group, who partnered with us to each fund 2 pilots as well. And as I mentioned, some really good things are happening. It seems to be doing what it's meant to do, which is to help employers retain and attract employees, to help families afford childcare and to access quality childcare in their areas, and to help childcare providers, with some stability in their small businesses. And the governor also mentioned the other thing that we are working on is we, the Women's Commission, is the FAIR grant, which is a grant that came from the Department of Labor and the Women's Bureau in the United States Department of Labor. Stands for Fostering Access, Rights, and Equity. And we've partnered with Detroit Disability Power, Southeast Michigan United Way, and Mothering Justice to reach at least 50,000 low-wage earning women in Southeast Michigan, to let them know about the programs that the state offers, like the child care subsidy and the Reconnect program. Another thing that the Women's Commission is doing in a partnership that we created is a partnership with the Michigan League for Public Policy to launch the 21-day Racial Equity Challenge. We launched that in 2020. And so far, well over 300 women have participated in the challenge, and we have the opportunity. We're launching another challenge on April 9th, and you may sign up on our website for the next challenge. And if it happens to be full already, which I know we were getting close, there is a waiting list for our next challenge as well. And finally, we hope to see you all in person soon as we tour the state on the Women's Economic Recovery Tour. And stay tuned for announcements on the dates and locations of the tour. And we really need you to join us and add your voice to this important conversation. Anything else, Muna?
Okay, well, thank you, Cheryl. Of course, I do have to say that the Michigan Women's Commission, we couldn't do all of this without you and our CSO, Shannon Garrett. So thank you both. And of course, thank you to the governor. Now we want to hear directly from you, those of you that are watching and listening. If you can go to michigan.gov/MWC and take our Women's Economic Recovery Tour survey. There you can tell us about your priorities for ensuring your economic security. And honestly, it's really important, ladies, if you could go ahead and do this and share it with your, with your networks, because we can't do what we need to do, and the governor can't do what she needs to do unless we're hearing from women on the state on what is important to them. When you go to michigan.gov/MWC, you'll see the Women's Economic Recovery Tour and the quote, complete our survey button right there at the top of our homepage. Click the button and share your thoughts. And of course, when you're done, share this with your friends. Start your own conversation about what's needed and share the survey. We'd like to thank you all for joining us for this kickoff. We will share this recording on the Michigan Women's Commission's social media, and watch our social media for announcements of our upcoming events and the Women's Economic Recovery Tour throughout the state all year long. Thank you for joining us, everybody.